The Las Vegas Raiders just made a decision that could either save this franchise or blow it up completely, and almost nobody is talking about the part that changes everything. Before we dive in, smash that subscribe button if you want the fastest Raiders updates on the planet. The move that shocked everyone. What if I told you the Raiders had a chance to grab 5 picks in the top 44, and they said no? That is not a rumor. That is not speculation. That actually happened. The New York Jets came to the table with a package that included picks 2, 16, 33, and 44. A full rebuild kit. Gift-wrapped. Ready to go. And the Raiders front office looked at that offer, looked at Fernando Mendoza, and said, not a chance. Think about what that means for a second. You do not turn down that kind of offer unless you genuinely believe the guy sitting at the top of your board is a generational talent. This was not a team playing it safe. This was a franchise planting its flag in the ground and saying, this is our quarterback. This is our future. Everything else comes second. Now the 7-round mock draft is out, and when you read through it pick by pick, one thing becomes crystal clear. Every single selection in this draft was made with one person in mind, Fernando Mendoza. The entire board was built around protecting him, supporting him, and setting him up to win. But here is the thing nobody wants to ask out loud. What if Mendoza is not ready? Chapter 2. The full draft breakdown. Pick by pick. Let us walk through this because the strategy here is actually pretty smart when you see the full picture. Round 1.
Fernando Mendoza.
Quarterback out of Indiana. The pick that defines everything. A true franchise signal caller. The kind of player Raiders fans have been begging for. For years, this team has been patching the position with veterans and stopgaps. Now the front office is done patching. They are building from the foundation up, and Mendoza is that foundation. Round 2. Caden McDonald. And this pick makes complete sense when you understand the defensive shift happening in Las Vegas. The Raiders are moving to a 3-4 defensive scheme, and you need big bodies in the middle to make that work. McDonald is exactly that. Physical, space-eating, run-stopping. He is the anchor that new defense needs to function properly. Round 3. Zachariah Branch. Now this name is going to hit different if you know your Raiders history, because yes, he is connected to the legendary Cliff Branch. And look, the emotion behind that pick is real. Raider Nation is going to love it. But let us be completely honest here. The Raiders already have Trey Tucker filling that smaller speed receiver role. What they actually need is a true outside receiver, a big-bodied X, and this pick does not solve that. So by taking Branch, the front office is basically betting the house that Dante Thornton Jr. and Jack Beck both take massive leaps forward this season. That is a gamble. A real one. And we will come back to that. Who do you think is the bigger risk, the Branch pick or betting on Thornton to step up? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Chapter 3. The trenches, the depth, and the wild card pick. Day 3 of this draft is where you really see the identity of this front office. Round 4 brings in Malik Muhammad at cornerback, physical, aggressive, and a genuine upgrade in depth alongside Eric Stokes and Darian Porter. Same round, they double down on the offensive line by adding both Tristan Lee and Logan Taylor. And that move lines up directly with what the general manager said publicly. The offensive line is a priority. When your franchise is about to hand the ball to a rookie quarterback, you better make sure that rookie is still standing by halftime. Protecting Mendoza is not optional. It is survival. Round 5 adds Kendall Daniels, a big-body hybrid safety type with the size and versatility to develop into a serious piece of this defense. The kind of player you can picture learning the game from veterans around him and emerging 2 years from now as a starter. Round 6 brings in safety depth with Wet Williams Jr., solid production, fills a real need, no complaints there. And then comes the pick that almost nobody saw coming. Max Bredesen in round 6 as well. Tight end. And when you look at the connection, Michigan ties, similar to the front office background, this feels extremely intentional. You already brought in Connor Hayward, but now you are forcing competition at the position. That is how you build a culture. You do not hand anyone a roster spot. You make them earn it. And as a bonus, adding a legitimate blocking tight end opens up the run game significantly for Ashton Ginty. Finally, round 7. Konk Metswawa. Kicker. And this story alone deserves its own video. This man taught himself how to kick by watching YouTube videos, after attending a Raiders game in Oakland as a fan. He fell in love with the sport and just figured it out on his own. That is either the most inspiring thing you have heard all off-season or the most chaotic roster decision in recent memory. Probably both. But he still has to beat out Matt Gay for the job, so do not put that story in the win column just yet. But wait until you hear what the quarterback himself said about all of this, because this is where everything gets real. Chapter 4, Mendoza speaks, and this changes the conversation. Fernando Mendoza could have come out and played it safe. He could have talked about how excited he is, how much he loves the opportunity, and left it at that. Most prospects do exactly that. But Mendoza did something different. He was completely honest about where he is right now. He admitted straight up that he is coming from an RPO-heavy system at Indiana. And that transition to the NFL is not simple. Playing under center, reading defenses pre-snap, managing a real huddle, operating a full pro-style offense, none of that is automatic. It takes time. It takes representatives, and it takes the right environment. But here is what separates Mendoza from most rookies entering this situation. He did not wait for someone to fix his weaknesses. He went and found Brian Grease on his own and started putting in work before he even gets drafted. He is already working under center, already studying cadence, already learning concepts from the West Coast offense that translate across multiple pro systems. He said directly that he wants to eliminate the early learning curve before day one even arrives. That is not something you hear from every 22-year-old quarterback prospect. That is rare. He also talked about the little things, making run actions and pass actions look identical so defenses cannot key on what is coming. That level of self-awareness this early is genuinely impressive. The work ethic is there. The mentality is there. But he was clear, he still has a long way to go. And that honesty, that actually makes him more trustworthy, not less. And now the veteran in the room has officially spoken up about all of this. Chapter 5. Kirk Cousins just said everything. Kirk Cousins went on Good Morning Football and said something that every Raiders fan needed to hear. He said he does not care about being the starter unless he genuinely is the best option on the field. He said the best players should play, simple as that. He called Mendoza a great addition, said the young quarterback has a big future ahead of him, and made it clear he is ready and willing to help him develop in any way possible. That is not a veteran protecting his job. That is a veteran accepting his role and embracing it. And that changes the entire dynamic of this situation. Because now you have a rookie quarterback who is already putting in extra work before the season starts, paired with a veteran signal caller who has openly said his job is to make that rookie better. That alignment is rare in the NFL. Most of the time, these mentor situations get messy. Competition becomes tension. Tension becomes dysfunction. But if Cousins genuinely means what he said, and his track record suggests he does, then Mendoza is walking into one of the better developmental situations a rookie quarterback could ask for. Chapter 6, The Honest Breakdown. What this really means, so let us be real about where all of this lands. The direction is right. Building an entire draft around your franchise quarterback, reinforcing the offensive line, upgrading the defensive front, and adding speed and depth across the roster, that is a legitimate plan. That is not just spinning wheels. That is a front office with an actual vision. Caden McDonald addresses a real defensive need. The offensive line investments protect the most important player on the roster. The depth additions throughout day 3 fill genuine holes. And the mentor situation with Cousins gives Mendoza the best possible runway to develop without being thrown into the fire too early. But 3 concerns remain. The Zachariah Branch pick is emotional more than strategic. The story is beautiful. The connection to Raiders history is real. But the roster need at wide receiver is still not solved, and this team is now hoping that younger receivers step up rather than going out and grabbing the outside threat they actually need. The RPO to pro-style transition for Mendoza is real. He knows it. He is working on it. But knowing something is a problem and actually solving it before September are 2 very different things. And every single pick in this draft, every decision made this offseason, lives or dies with Fernando Mendoza becoming the quarterback this franchise believes he can be. If he develops into that player, this offseason looks like pure genius 2 years from now. If he does not, none of the surrounding pieces matter at all. That is the reality of going all in on a franchise quarterback. There is no middle ground. There is no safety net. You either hit or you miss. So here is the question that matters most right now. Do you trust Fernando Mendoza to be the guy who finally brings stability to Las Vegas? And do you trust this front office to be patient enough to let him develop the right way? Drop your honest take in the comments. This is the most important football decision this franchise has made in years, and Raider Nation deserves to have that conversation.